We are live. It's the championship edition of a Varsity Sports Live. David Brown, Jason Andera. 5 in the books so far in South Dakota, 2 remaining on Saturday. All 4 North Dakota championships in the books. We've had some fantastic games, some interesting results in both states.
Interesting matchups and interesting ways these games have evolved. And one really good finish in South Dakota. North Dakota was treated to a lot of good games up there. And we've got it all coming up here in the next 60 minutes.
We will start here in South Dakota. We will start in 9B. 2 11-0 teams. Number 2 Hitchcock-Tulare, number 1 Harriet Selby area. You saw Brendan Begeman for the Wolverines trying to work out that hamstring pregame, but it's Hitchcock-Tulare that strikes first. Carter Binger to Cole Schroeder. 2-point conversion, no good. 6-0 Pats. Back come the Wolverines. Trey Heddick gets into the end zone. HSA makes their 2-pointer. They lead 8-6.
Yeah, they started out running Trey Heddick a lot because of Brendan Begeman's injured hamstring. It worked okay, but you see Hitchcock-Tulare dominated early in this game.
That was Binger to Riley Flea. You saw Flea in the air. There's a Flea on the ground. 20-8. The Patriots take the lead into the locker room. How would Harriet Selby come out in the second half? They put the ball in the hands of old reliable Begeman. A grown man's touchdown, pushing the pile into the end zone, cutting it to 20-14. But the play of the game and the pendulum swing right here. Heddick fading back, picked off by Brendan Noel. He's got reservations for 6. 98-yard pick 6.
Yeah, that's a huge swing. That's one where Harriet Selby's coming in and trying to tighten the game up and possibly take the lead, and it goes the other way. Great job defensively. Not a great decision for Harriet Selby here.
Fourth quarter, Pats offense on the move again. Binger finds Landon Puffer on the run. That makes the lead 34-14. Begeman trying to keep up, trying to keep his team in it. Second touchdown makes it a 2-score game, but Hitchcock-Tulare would be too much on this afternoon. Landon Puffer leaves him puffing for air.
Yeah, this is the dagger right here. And Landon Puffer, a guy who has 7 punt return touchdowns this year, 2 kick return touchdowns, 2 pick sixes. He is a threat all over the field, and he showed it right there with his legs.
Final play of the game, though, Begeman leaving it all out there. This is the final play over midfield. Unofficially breaks the all-time South Dakota career rushing record by a yard, but it is Hitchcock-Tulare that celebrates as a team on the field. 50-28. Hitchcock-Tulare with its first state title since 2009.
Yeah, we're going to celebrate Hitchcock-Tulare here in a minute, but I got to shout out to Brendan Begeman. He needed 143 yards to set the single-season record for rushing yards in the season. He did that, and then on that last drive, he barely got it, and it was one heck of a run to get to 188. That's the number he had to get to. He got to 189 to set the career record, breaking Luke Laudenberg's record. So congratulations to Begeman. But this day was all about the Hitchcock-Tulare Patriots and the way they absolutely dominated. They made Harriet Selby they gave them nothing. What I want to say is they only had to punt 1 time in that game. I mean, this is a phenomenal defensive effort for the Patriots on this day.
And afterwards, Pat's head coach Tom Solomon, Carter Binger, Landon Puffer reflected on the journey of this 2022 season.
You're right. It's just a beautiful season. It's been fun. I'm trying to hold in the tears here because it's just been emotional but just a fun end. And you look for it, you expect it, you drive for it, and now we got it. And I don't even know what to think, but it's awesome.
I love this team so much. I wouldn't want to do it with any other guys. We knew coming into this game we were the underdogs, and we just kind of took that to heart and fought all game. So I'm just proud of every single one of these guys.
Oh, it's crazy. Yes, it's crazy. Chills still standing here. Same chills I had walking into it, I have them now. We felt comfortable right at the start of the fourth quarter. We thought we knew we could do it after that. So.
And one of the underrated things and that people in 9-man talked about, and you talked about throughout the season with Hitchcock-Tulare, the offensive line, just a huge advantage. You don't see that kind of size in 9-man schools at any level, let alone 9B.
Yeah, I had coaches in 9B tell me this is the best 9-man line in the entire state and one of the best teams in all of 9-man football, regardless of class. But in the end, Harriet Selby could not get any stops because that line dominated. And if you can't get any stops, you're not going to get the W, and especially with Brendan Begeman not 100%. But either way, Hitchcock-Tulare earned this title.
And as you said, they only punted one time in this championship game. Just tough to get them off the field. But congrats again to the Pats, your champs in South Dakota Class 9B. Let's go to 9A right now. Gregory, 10-1, the 3 seed against top seed and undefeated Warner Gorillas. They open here with a short field goal to seemingly take a 3-0 lead, but roughing the kicker gives Gregory another shot at the end zone.
They took points off the board, which you don't see very often, but look at that, they cashed it in.
Inside handoff to Cade Stukel, 8-0 Gregory on that bulldozing touchdown. Later in the first, Rylan Peck keeps it on the play action, finds the left edge, does not look back. 81 yards.
He's a dual threat quarterback, but he is definitely a run-first quarterback, and boy, he put that on display in this game.
Second quarter, Peck keeps it up again. We need to rename Rylan Peck Rylan Bushel because he keeps on getting touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. 23 yards this time as he reaches the pylon. 24-0 Gregory, but he makes his first mistake here later in the quarter. Peck looking for Eli Fogel, intercepted by Hunter Kramer.
They were so successful running the ball, but right before halftime, they tried to throw it, and Hunter Kramer made him pay, and then they came right back with a little passing game of their own. And remember, Kramer's not always the quarterback, but he was throwing on this play and got him sparked. 53
yards there to Logan Perman. A few plays later, Kramer up top. Ashton Schuart coming on down. 26-yard strike. Warner cuts it to 24-8 at halftime. Second half, Gorillas keep it on the ground. It's Stukel leaping into the end zone. 30-8. It's a 22-point lead.
It's over, right?
Monarchs mount a comeback. Kramer with the pitch here, fights his way in. That cuts it to 30-16. Later in the third, Gregory punting. Devin Woosley gets a piece of it, sets up Warner in excellent field position. And they would capitalize on fourth down. Kramer back at QB, but it's another rushing score. They cut a 20-plus point lead down to 7. But in the fourth, Jandy, Gregory would do just enough to keep Warner at arm's length.
Well, they were just kind of remembering back to what Warner did in the quarterfinals. Came back from 17 down, scored 34 straight to beat Canastota, but Gregory would not allow that to happen, and Rylan Peck specifically would not allow that to happen.
He gets the deciding score there. Your final is 36-23. Gregory with its first 9A championship. They won an 11B title in the late 90s, some 9 AA titles in 2014, 16, and 17, and now they've conquered a new class.
Yeah, and coming into the year, I mean, this wasn't a dominant team last year, but they had a lot of young players that transferred into experienced juniors and seniors this year, and boy, did that experience show.
Afterwards, we heard from head coach Michael Murray and quarterback Rylan Peck about withstanding that Warner comeback.
Talked about adversity, and I told him that this team that we're playing is so good. We're going to see some adversity, but don't fall apart. Don't get down. Just stick together and be a team, and that's exactly what happened. You know, a lot of teams might crumble, might kind of cave in, but we held up even though there was adversity, even though we were having bad things happen and things weren't going our way for a while. So it was just the intestinal fortitude these guys showed that kept us in the game.
Our game plan was to come out with a win, and we wanted to throw the ball more, but they had great coverage, so we had to run it, and it worked out very well.
We have a football tradition, and we have a great football program. And a program isn't just a team. It's all the people in the community that support that team, from the band to the cheerleaders, all the medical staff, the town, the fans. I'm forgetting so many people, but it's the whole community comes together. So this isn't a win for our team, it's a win for our community because everybody pitches in.
Well, as Rylan Peck said, the game plan was to win, and they did just that.
Well, that was the game plan all year for this team because they came down from 9AA, and it felt like they were in such tough competition all in 9AA, especially through the playoffs with a lot of those teams. But coming down to 9A, I feel like that was the right class for them, and they were really one of the powers in 9A all season long.
And you saw it manifest itself there in the championship game with the win over Warner, as we said, the first 9A championship for the Gregory Gorillas. Let's check in on 9AA, the championship between the lowest seed to make the Dome this year, number 6 Parkson, and number 1 Wall. No score in the first. The punt block, Quinn Moon says, "Oh, look what I got here."
Who knew we'd have the first score of the game by a lineman, number 50. Putting them on the board.
Excellent special teams continues. Blair Blasius with a field goal right down the middle. 10-0 Wall Eagles after 1. Second quarter, Parkston finally gets on the board. Caleb Weber keeping it himself. 2-pointers good. Trojans cut the lead to 10-8. Next, Wall possession. Burke Blasius to Thane Simons, making the catch in traffic and then carrying defenders into the end zone. 22 yards, 17-8 Wall. And the Eagles would add to their advantage just before the break. Check out the touch on this rainbow drop in the pot of gold for Rylan McDonald, 24-8.
And they could have kicked it right there, but they went for it right before halftime, and it paid off.
Third quarter, Parkston still fighting. Jet sweep to Coulter. Kramer who just gets the edge inside the pylon. Two-pointer no good, 24-14. But that is as close as Parkston would get. Weber driving into Eagle territory. But the pass intended for Kramer picked off by Brody Sundahl. He returns it out near midfield. And, you know, if you get the interception, you might as well score on the ensuing offensive possession.
No, they would have used Cedar Amiot a lot more. He was banged up in this one, so they used all of the tools that they had in the bag.
Sundahl with the score, 31-14 Eagles at that point. Wall, they win their first state title since 1994. Michael Jordan was playing minor league baseball the last time the Wall Eagles won it all, 34-14 your final.
You better believe it was a precious championship for Wall, and they didn't just represent Wall, they represent West River. They really felt like they came in this together and got one for the West.
And speaking of representing West River, that's what head coach Lex Heathershaw and the victorious Eagles discussed after the victory.
Since second or third grade, we've been planning this for like every single day. I'm pretty sure we've talked about football. We have group chats since second grade that we talk about football on. Just in love with the game all together as a class. And then now that it finally came true, it's like a dream.
1994 is the last time we were champs. So, you know, to clear back to the 94 champs and to our community, to our town, I'm just so proud that, you know, I could be a part of that and I can do that help do that for our community. But the credit goes to all our guys, our seniors, our leaders. Wow, what a day.
Was the quarterback for the Wall football team, so it feels great being back here. You know, we got a lot of team history, and to get a West River school too to get the job done. You know, you don't see, like when we walked in, a guy said you don't see a lot of good West River teams. You know, so it's good to bring some pride back to West River, and it feels great.
And with Wall in particular, they got some tests in the quarterfinals and semifinal rounds of these playoffs. I think you and I had both discussed how their regular season competition maybe wasn't the best, but they proved they were the best in 9AA when it mattered.
I think that was important for them to be tested because they had gone so long without a big test. When Bonham came in and when Hamlin came in, it sharpened them for this game. And I had so many nine-man coaches tell me, this team is the real deal. They're going to show up against Parkson, and they did. And that was with their best player, Cedar Amiot, who had a slipped disc and was playing with some extreme pain. He could barely stand up for that post-game interview. One of the toughest guys you'll see out there.
Definitely gutted it out, and Wall guts out their first championship in nearly 3 decades over Parkston. So we got our 9-man champions. How about 11-man? 11B. 2 undefeated teams, 11-0 Elk Point Jefferson, 11-0 winner. Warriors have won 34 in a row, hoping to capture a three-peat. No score in the second quarter, 4th and goal for the Huskies. Lucas Heischer takes the direct snap, just barely breaks the plane. 7-0 EPJ. Ensuing possession for the Warriors, they answer in an emphatic way. Riley Orrell down the sideline and takes a lick and keeps on ticking.
And they reviewed it. He was inbound the whole way. And just like that, no score in the first quarter. It was an exciting first quarter, but no score. Then you've got touchdown, and then this touchdown, all within about 3 minutes.
Noah McDermott keeps it on the RPO. Number 12 scores from 13 yards out to make it 14-6 Huskies. Just before halftime, Blake Vollmer going for Ethan Bartles in the end zone. Great breakup by Jacob Scarman. Prevents a possible time to score. EPJ is up 14-6 at the break. No scoring in the third, so we go to the fourth. 4th and 10, Vollmer to Bartles, making up for the missed connection in the first half, right in the breadbasket. Then on the 2-pointer, EPJ was late on defense. Bartles wide open. We are tied at 14.
Just like that, they'll tie it up. And again, the answer came quick for Elk Point Jefferson. Watch the stiff arm.
Ooh, Heischer makes sure that arm is at arm's length, gets the score, 31 yards, 21-14, Huskies back on top. Winner driving late for the tie, multiple 4th downs. Riley Orrell stretches to get this one, but later on, Vollmer, he's going to look for Orrell again, but he slips here. It's picked off by Scarman. He had the tip late in the first half. And Elk Point Jefferson, who lost to Winner in the semifinals last season, 52-14, gets its revenge in the state championship this season. The first football state title for Elk Point Jefferson. 21-14 is your final.
What a season for Elk Point Jefferson. Just dominated throughout the year. Gave up less than 4 points per game coming in. Just the 2 touchdowns to winner. They said they knew they were going to get a play or 2 on us, but we're not going to give them up enough to win, and that's exactly what they did in this game. An impressive performance from start to finish for Elk Point Jefferson.
So winner, their 34-game overall winning streak gone. They do not get a three-peat. They were trying to three-peat as 11B champions. Elk Point Jefferson gets it done. Let's hear from Jake Terry and the victorious Huskies, who show a little love to my counterpart here.
I was trying to sprint off and I was trying to scream and go to my teammates, but I couldn't. My voice just, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't say anything. It was really, really awesome. Never been a part of anything like this. It's the coolest thing ever.
When Jake got that pick, it sank in. We were champs.
And we didn't hear the rest of the highlight, but you picked against Elk Point Jefferson earlier this week. And this is after, in the semifinals, they actually showed you some heart, actually made a heart sign to show how much they love you, Jason Andera. And all you did was stab him in the back and give him that bulletin board material.
They tried to butter me up, which works
like a
most
Thanksgiving
of the time.
Turkey.
Works most of the time, but you can't pick against winner, a team that's won 34 in a row. Well, I should have, and I talked to some of those players after the game, and I went behind their bench during the game, and there were 4 or 5 Huskies that came at me ready with their words to say, hey, we're going to prove you wrong, and Michael McCleary, you don't know what you're talking about, and you're right. I don't know what I'm talking about.
So they were pointing at you and Michael McCleary while the state championship is going on.
Exactly.
Well, hey, whatever motivation you can use.
I don't think their coach cares now, but
exactly.
Maybe at the time they would have.
Of course. Either way, congratulations to Elk Point Jefferson, your champions in South Dakota Class 11B, first state title for EPJ. So those are the 4 state titles that are in the books so far in South Dakota. When we come back, we will go up north. Jody Norstead with highlights from all 4 North Dakota championship games when we return.
You're watching Varsity Sports Live, presented by South Dakota State University. Welcome back to Varsity Sports Live, presented by Avera Orthopedics.
And welcome back to Varsity Sports Live. David Brown alongside Jason Andera. Let's head up north to West Fargo and join Jody Norstead. Jody, we talked about it last week. Every class in South Dakota had a number 1 seed in the championship game. North Dakota, 0 number 1 seeds in any of the 4 championships, but that didn't make them any less fun today, did it, for Dakota Bowl 30?
Yeah, boy, the first 2 games were absolutely nuts, and looking forward to giving you those highlights. 11 AA, 11A got a little bit out of hand for both those games, but again, boy, it was fun to crown some champions today, wasn't it? Let's start with that Century and Shanley matchup. Century, of course, the 8th seed going into the playoffs. Somehow they make it to the Dakota Bowl, going through Cheyenne, going through Davies, and they've become the first team in Dakota Bowl history to come in with a losing record, but playing in their 6th Dakota Bowl in 8 years. Shanley, well, they've won tons of titles, over 20 of them, but not since 1983 have they won the crown at the highest level of high school football. Trying to do that. Easy peasy on the opening drive. Michael Rosberg, the St. Thomas commit, using every bit of that 6'4 frame to score his 8th rushing touchdown of the year. Deacon defense, boy, they must have taken a shot of Red Bull before the game. The Patriots fumble it, and a sea of red floods the backfield for the recovery. Leads to this. Rosberg to Adam Leininger on the flats. The junior, tough to bring down. It's 13-zip. More defense. You got it. Kyan Barr's pass intercepted by Jordan Leininger, Adam's brother. He takes it back for a nice return. 1 of 2 interceptions for Jordan in the first half. Give him 5 on the year, and they get more points out of it. Rosberg to Caden Merry Chrisman, 28 yards in his 21-zip with 4 minutes left in the first quarter. Shanley's defense continues to play lights out. Will Mayhew's on the pressure, drills Bart. Deacon's there for another turnover. Rosberg adds another rushing score to make it 28-zip. Ron Wingenbach's team finally breaks through. On a 4th and goal from the 14, Barth to Gavin Lill, who strolls into the end zone. Barth with his 7th touchdown of the postseason. He gets his 8th on the next drive, but it's not the good kind. Sam Oshek intercepts the pass, and he's a speedster. Watch this. Multiple return touchdowns in the regular season, and he goes 65 yards here, a couple of dancing, doinking moves. Shanley led 35-7 at the half thanks to 5 Century turnovers. First drive of the second half ends with more points for the Deacons. Rosberg spreading the wealth. This time he hits senior Luke Holcraft. His second touchdown of the season makes it a 35-point lead. They all wanted to be like Mike tonight, like Mike Rosberg. He adds a fourth passing touchdown in the fourth, just a rainbow to Oshek. Rosberg finishes with a combined 6 touchdowns, and the Deacons are state champs for the first time since 2018 and the first time at the highest level since 1983. They like to play fast, and boy, did they ever do that tonight.
I think we were just ready. We prepared all week. We watched a ton of film. We were extremely energetic at practice. We were really just flying around all practice, and it really paid off in the game. Everyone was extremely assignment sharp, and it just paid off. Everyone was just doing great, which just helped. It was the synergy that helped a lot.
Our message all week was worry about us. Just be Shanley. We couldn't get so much caught up in our opponent. But as a coach, you always wait for that perfect game, that 4-quarter game. No doubt it was today, and credit to our kids, to have that first drive go the way it did and get the ball back right away and go up 14-0 quick. Allowed our defense to pin their ears back a little bit, and man, did they get after it. 5 turnovers first half. Obviously, they set the tone for the whole game.
I saw the ball thrown to me, and I caught it. And I started running, and I saw that their quarterback was going to catch me, so I kind of slowed up, made a move. I had some great blocks, so that was awesome. And I saw Lane at the end, and I took her in the house, and it was just surreal.
Last year, after our loss to Cheyenne, it lit a fire in our previous year's juniors and us as sophomores that we weren't going to do it again. And so this offseason, we put in so much work, and it showed.
I thought we had a chance to state championship last year when we came up short, but we had that feeling in the back of our mind coming into this season, and we didn't want that to happen again, and we didn't. It just feels so great being here, just soaking it all in. And I'm so proud of every single one of everyone, and I'm so excited.
Congrats to the Deacons. Jamestown in search of back-to-back crowns. North open a walk from the Farmer Dome back to campus with the program's first state title since 2000. Peter Hago cashes in first. The stud junior with his 25th touchdown of the year makes it 7-zip in the 11A championship game. Jamestown drives the length of the field, but facing a 4th and goal from the 2, Peyton Hochhalter. The fastball to Nathan Walls. North still ahead 7-6 after the botched extra point. Fireworks really explode in the second with 6 touchdowns. Hochhalter to Jackson Walters. Sensational catch gets him down to the 2. Hochhalter scores on the ground, makes it 12-7. Special teams highlight here. Maxwell Rittenbach blocks the Spartan punt. Great field position for the Blue Jays, and they capitalize. Hochhalter going to show off the speed here. Just call him Walter Payton Hochhalter. Sweetness on the touchdown run. 19-7 Jamestown. Adam Rowland's team needs a spark, and this guy has been providing it all year. Hago again races in from 20 yards out. North brings the lead to 5. These next 4 highlights are bonkers. Hochhalter with a cannon of an arm. Walls with a little, you got mossed here. Unreal catch for the 38-yard score. Second of the night for that duo. North trying to answer. Ethan Welk looking for Jeremiah Sem, but it's deflected by Walls to Hochhalter for the interception. First of 2 picks for Hochhalter in the game. Look out, me. Then the QB goes for the jugular, this time to Walters. A spectacular catch here in double coverage. And Jamestown has a 32-14 lead. I told you this second quarter was insane. Well, to Sam, this time he hauls it in and then turns into his basketball moves. Look at these broken ankles. There, 47-yard touchdown is 32-21 Jamestown at the break. Third quarter, Blue Jays defense dials it up. Josh Robertson sacks Welk on a 3rd down to force a punt. North managed only 1 first down in the 3rd quarter. Blue Jays score on the first play of the 4th. It's like he's a sponsor for these highlights. This touchdown brought to you by Peyton Hochhalter. 3 rushing scores, 3 passing scores, and a receiving score, plus 2 picks. The 7 touchdowns for Hochhalter, a new Dakota Bowl record. Jamestown makes it back-to-back state championships with a 46-28 win. Hochhalter with nearly 300 passing yards. Hago with 130 on the ground and a pair of scores for North. But it's the Blue Jays that are celebrating for a 2nd straight year.
It feels amazing. I had faith in everybody. So everyone played
their game, and I mean, I just had to go out there and do what I do, and everyone else is. I knew I had faith in every receiver out there to just go up and make plays, so it makes it easy for me when I can just throw it up there and they're going to make plays.
He puts the ball where we need it, and he trusts us to go up and get it. So that's what we worked on early in the season. We said, just trust us, and we'll do it for you. So it showed out today that he trusted us, and we went and did it.
Offensive coordinator, he's really smart. He knew how to get after their D and what plays to do. We had special plays for them, and he just helps us a lot in that aspect.
We had to learn is that we're going to get everybody's best shot. And it took a while to figure that out. And I tell you what, that Valley City game, we did not play well, and they did. And that was kind of the wake-up call we needed. And from that point on, this group of guys, they just flat out said, you know what, it's all business.
It's just taking it all in. It's the back-to-back state championships. No one ever done it in Blue Jay history before. I can't explain it right now.
There's a benefit of being here before, and so we've been here in multiple sports, which you can't really say in Jamestown. We've been in these positions, and you have to show up when the time matters. So that was my favorite part about it.
Jamestown head coach Bill Nelson referencing that Valley City game. I was at that game. It was just a miserable experience for Jamestown. They had 2 low snaps on consecutive offensive plays that ended up being turnovers, and Valley City being able to capitalize on that. But boy, they went on a tear from there in Jamestown. Congrats on back-to-back state championships. How about those 2 quarterbacks, the 2 winning quarterbacks in the 11AA and 11A? Michael Rosberg and Peyton Hochhalter, 6 touchdowns for Rosberg, which would have tied the Dakota Bowl record had Hochhalter not set the new Dakota Bowl record the game prior by getting 7 touchdowns all together, 3 passing, 3 rushing, and 1 receiving. How crazy is that? Well, we still have 2 more games to show you. A 10th state title for a head coach and an overtime thriller. That's a pretty good tease. Stick right here on Varsity Sports Live.
You're watching Varsity Sports Live, presented by Farmers Union Insurance. Time now for Varsity Sports Live, presented by South Dakota State University.
Welcome back to Varsity Sports Live. I should mention kudos to just the teams getting to the Fargo Dome this week. A lot of teams having to get here on Wednesday and stay a couple of nights and modify their practice schedule. I'm thinking of teams like Velva Drake and Moose Garrison. The highlights coming up here in the 11B Championship. New Salem had to get here early. Cavalier came down early. Just a unique way to go about things with some of these communities getting about a foot to 2 feet of snow dumped on them over the last couple days up here in North Dakota. Never a dull moment once it comes to Dakota Bowl time. But Central Cass, boy, if they were an old school WWF team, they'd be the Road Warriors, baby. Hawk and Animal, the shoulder pads, the spikes. Of course, the Road Warriors being in reference to this team winning 3 straight road playoff games to get to the Dakota Bowl. They've kind of been the underdog all the way through. They beat the defending state champs from Kindred to get into the 11B Championship. And Velva Drake and Moose Garrison, I guess you could call them Mr. Perfect. They were looking to finish a perfect season. Squirrels, Aggies, first meeting ever between these 2 programs, and it's for a state championship. Central Cass hasn't won one since 1980. The Aggies haven't gotten the job done since going back-to-back in 2009 and 10. Velva scores on its 2nd drive. Ben Shep, 15th rushing touchdown of the year. Aggies up 7-0. Aggies defensive line playing lights out early. Kyle Sandy with a couple of huge tackles for loss. His dad, Larry the Legend Sandy, coaching his last game for this Velva program. After a great punt, Tommy Butler's team nearly gets a safety. Looked like Shep's knee was down in the end zone, but the official calmed down at the half-yard line. Squirrels get the ball anyway and score. Braden Mitchell to Cooper Johnson, who cuts on a dime, flashes to the end zone, 18-yard score. It's 8-7 Aggies after the extra point. After a stop on D, here come those Squirrels again. Owen Wiersma breaks out 2 big runs, a 31-yarder and this 64-yarder. That's 95 yards on 2 plays. He finished with a $149. Isaac Wisniewski finishes the drive for him. He follows some great blocks. 14-8 Central Cass with just over 4 to play in the second. It takes Velva just 2 plays to respond. Shep to Reggie Bruner, who turns on the burners. Aggie sideline going crazy in the background as Reggie runs 78 yards to Pater. Velva up 16-14 at the half. A great championship game going down inside the Fargo Dome. Also a salute to our veterans on Veterans Day. Central Cass marches right down to start the third. Mitchell fires a quick hitter to Peyton Lamar. Squirrels back in front, 20-16. First play of the fourth is a big one. Central Cass driving when Mitchell has the ball poked loose by Shep. The Aggies are able to recover, and they take advantage of this big momentum swing, using up half of the fourth quarter to score another Shep rushing touchdown. Velva up 22-20 after the failed conversion. Squirrels put together their own impressive drive. On a 3rd and goal from the 3, Peyton Lamar on the jet sweep ruled down at the half-yard line. The officials reviewed it and stuck with the original call. So 4th and goal from the 1:25 left. Watch 52 off the edge. Braden Selzler tackles Mitchell from behind for the biggest play of the game. Velva runs off some time and hangs on for the 22-20 win, the program's first state title since 2010, and the 10th overall for that man, Larry Sandy, the head coach. Boy, Shep with 228 passing yards, a touchdown. He had 80 yards on the ground as well and a couple of scores. But how about that defensive stop for the Aggies?
We're all just sitting there talking like this is what we do 2 days for. This is what we fought for this all year, and we weren't going to let 2 inches stop us from being state champions.
We're a senior-led D-line with our 4 starters, and it's our final game. We just want to come out and give it we all got.
Back and forth, football's up and down, motions. Just got to stick to the game plan. Defense, stay strong. Offense, got to score. Did that, scored enough. 1 by 2, yeah.
When the play was called in the huddle, I knew we watched film on them, their safeties. I knew we could get by them. Coach called the route combinations. It happened, safety bid on it, caught it, and just ran.
For me personally, it was so much more special. I'm a senior, I'm going out in my final year, and my dad's the final year coaching here, so for us to go out together on top, that just makes it so much more special, and it's worth it.
It's very rewarding for these guys to get to championship, I think. I've had a great career, and if we'd have been on the bottom side of this, I don't think I would have been disappointed. If I would have, it wouldn't have been for myself, it would have been for these kids, because they put it out there all on the line, and I appreciate what they've done. And again, a lot of accolades get thrown my way, but it's my assistant coaches just do a well of a job, and these players are just very dedicated.
Titles. Game 2 of the Dakota Bowl featured Cavalier and New Salem Elmont. The Tornadoes playing in this game for a 4th consecutive season, but try not to finish runner-up for a 4th consecutive year. New Salem Elmont looked like they were destined for this game last year until the Tornadoes stunned them in overtime in the semis. Landon Carter, 10 catches for 109 yards in this one. He was the 9B Senior Athlete of the Year. Big one there. A few plays later, Sterling Enerson hits Jacob Steele for the touchdown. Early second now, Enerson completes it to Zach Anderson, makes his way 56 yards to the house. Tornadoes, boy, they're starting to blow it up, 14-0. Holsteins respond with a drive of their own, though. Ty Wolding, boy, has he been good this season. Runs it in from 4 yards out, makes it 14-6 Cavalier. Tornadoes trying to score at the end of the half, but A.J. Hines smothers Enerson, and we go into halftime 14-6. Tornadoes lead it. Hines, one of those top recruits in the state. Holsteins come out ready. Wolding throws to Wyatt Kuhn, who makes a great catch in Tornado territory. Wolding scores on the ground and make it 14-12 Cavalier. Tornadoes respond. Enerson keeps it himself, scampers 17 yards. Cavalier has another 8-point lead after a failed 2-pointer at 20-12. Late in the fourth now, 3:30 left. Brock Norton, the sophomore, pounds it in from 4 yards out, cuts it to 2. On the conversion, it's Wolding to Kuhn, who makes a great catch and holds on to knot the game at 20-all. Cavalier going to be driving here. Maybe they're going to win it. 30 seconds left, but Alex Pittman comes up with a big strip sack. That turnover sends us to overtime. Cavalier going to choose to defend first after winning the toss. So here comes New Salem. Wolding hands it out to Norton again, who pounds it in on second down, puts the Holsteins up 6. Here comes the all-important conversion. Wolding finds an open Kuhn again for the extra 2. 28-20 New Salem with its first lead of the game. 3rd and goal now for Cavalier. Enerson finds Anderson again. His second touchdown gets them within 2. Here comes the conversion to tie. Holsteins get pressure. Enerson scrambling, heaves up a prayer, and it ain't going to be answered. New Salem Alma wins 28-26 in a rare overtime game at the Dakota Bowl, the first overtime game since 2009 when Shanley beat Devils Lake for a state title. Heart goes out to those Cavalier Tornadoes. They finish with a loss again in the Dakota Bowl. That's 4 straight years they reached the Dakota Bowl, and they now have enough success points to play 11-man next year, so they'll be moving up to 11B despite not winning a state title in those last 4, but absolutely phenomenal what they've been able to do in this stretch of really the last half decade, including a coaching change. But New Salem Almont, your state champs. Let's hear from them after the game.
We knew it was going to be a dogfight. They're an unbelievably talented football team. Our hope was that we'd be able to kind of slow them down on offense and establish a run. They did a hell of a job against our run. But I thought defensively, when we needed to make plays, a couple turnovers, a sack, fourth down stop, I thought we really got it done. And I think that obviously was the little key for us to kind of put us over the top.
Honestly, it doesn't feel real at all. We were down early in the first half, but the coaches had a great game plan coming out of the first half, and we executed.
I don't know, it was a feeling that you really can't describe with all the momentum changes. We just had a couple more of them, we had a couple more plays, and it's a great feeling.
Honestly, it felt amazing. Everybody wanted to get revenge from last year, and just so happened to go down to overtime just like last year, and we finally came on top on this year.
I've been playing with this group of guys since I was a 4th grader, 5th grader, and just to keep coming and keep building and growing with these guys, it's amazing. It's really nice.
Just all came together my senior year with Ty Wolding, Levi and Alex, Maverick and Kane our senior year. We've been busting it since we were 5th graders in the same program, and it's just been a fun ride. I mean, it's kind of bittersweet. This is my last high school game, but I wouldn't want to go out with anybody else.
Boy, and that always hits you hard when it's your last game and you go out on top. That is obviously emotionally pleasing for any player to go out on top, but we do know that there are players that did not go out on top tonight. It was heartbreak for a lot of these 4 teams today. Kudos to them, though. You get to the Dakota Bowl, that is quite the experience and quite the ride and plenty to celebrate. So, guys, 4 state champions crowned, and it was a weird year. Again, no number 1 seeds make the Dakota Bowl, but these teams had a lot of fun, and I think it showed the parity in North Dakota high school football, and that this plan that was implemented last year, I feel like it's working. We got some competitive football throughout the season, and it ended with a couple of doozies as well.
And with all that parity, as you mentioned, without any number 1 seeds, I know I'm not going to ask you to pick favorites, but of the 4 state champions, which one was most impressive to you, just the overall body of work this season?
Oh, boy, the overall body of work. I don't know. I think Velva Drake Animush running the table. I mean, coming in and getting the win, and Larry Sandy going out on top. I mean, a 10th state title for him, and that's a sophomore-heavy group. That's the scary part about it. They're kind of a younger group, so they're going to have a lot of these guys back. They're going to have to replace a lot of guys on the offensive and defensive line, but they have some skilled guys back that they could be a dangerous team. And Jamestown had the target on their back, and the Blue Jays make it back-to-back state titles. So very impressive for them. And Troy Madden, what he's been able to do 4 years ago or whenever it was that Shanley came up and wanted to play in that top group, it was a question of how long is it going to take until they can compete at this level. Well, it didn't take very long, and now Troy Mattern, 2 state titles at Shanley, 2 state titles at Fargo South. He's a guy that is an absolute winner, and he gets it done in dominant fashion tonight against Bismarck Century. So there you go. I answered your question, kind of.
I think Jody makes a great point, though, about the winners and losers. I mean, it's so great to win, but there's a lot of kids out there, especially those close games that you had, Jody, that are regretting a few plays here and there. But
an overtime game. We don't get that very often. And Steve Kleingen, tip of the hat to his program. He's one of those coaches that I think they start at midnight that first night when they can get out on the field. So really, since that first practice for New Salem, and they practice underneath the watchful eye of Salem Sue, who was in a commercial for us, I think, last year, that huge cow out there in Holstein country, and they get the job done. They were not able to bring the cattle hauler this time, which they have in years past. Mother Nature, I think, thwarted those plans, but quite the win for all those farm kids out there, and they're tough, and that was a tough physical football game against Cavalier.
Awesome stuff. I know we got a wrap-up show next week, but Thanks for putting a bow on everything. What another awesome high school season in North Dakota. Thanks a bunch, Jody.
You bet, guys. Thanks for letting me be a part of this ride.
Of course. Jody Norston up in West Fargo. And as he mentioned, the parity specifically with North Dakota, with the rule changes they made, I know there was some controversy about how playoff teams were let in and not let in up there, but I think you saw the depth and just the amount of talent overall you have up in North Dakota.
Yeah, that's been a common theme around South Dakota, is talking about, semifinal action wasn't as close as it has been in the past, and, tightening up the classes like they do in North Dakota, I think would help the competition level in South Dakota, but there's another time for that conversation.
Absolutely. The time for 11A highlights is coming up next. Dell Rapids and West Central, they wrapped up at the Domo about 45 minutes ago. We'll have highlights of that, final thoughts on the AA and AAA games coming up Saturday when we return.
You're watching Varsity Sports Live, presented by Avera Orthopedics. Welcome back to Varsity Sports Live, presented by Farmers Union Insurance.
Welcome back. The championship edition of Varsity Sports Live. David Brown, Jason Andera. 11A, West Central Dell Rapids. A lot of intrigue for this matchup because they didn't play in the regular season.
Yeah, and that's not a normal thing for these two teams. And all season long, they've either been 1 or 2, and people have been looking forward to this matchup, David. And they got contrasting styles where West Central tries to spread you out, and Dell Rapids, for the most part tries to run that double wing and just power you through. And we saw a lot of those storylines play out tonight.
Well, let's get right to the highlights of the 11A championship. A long run for both Dell Rapids and West Central. And a lot of running on this first drive for the Couriers. Jack Henry finishes it off.
Yeah, Jack Henry is a guy who can run power as well as he can throw the ball, and he showed that power move.
6-0 Dell Rapids, but West Central got a special teams block here. Unfortunately for the Trojans, their offense just couldn't get anything going. Zerpel to Owen Heath here. This is called incomplete, though. Did not have the catch inbounds.
Yeah, and they needed that because they had no passing yards in that first half. Everything going wrong for Zerpel, who really had cleaned up his interception game in the second half of the season, but tonight, not so lucky.
Chase Jones with the pick there. Henry, another rushing TD, spins out of a tackle. 12-0 Couriers. And then West Central, again, just the offense, especially the passing game, where Zerpel's been so effective. Just careless mistake. Mason Stubbe with an interception. And then Dell Rapids tries to make it a 3-score game right before the half. But you're going to see Henry here just short before halftime. So it's a 12-0 Dell Rapids lead at the break. In the second half, Dells would keep it up. Check out this catch, Braden Panconi.
Yeah, this kid is one of the most versatile players in the state. And then you've got Mason Stubbe, who's, maybe not as versatile, but man, he's powerful.
Finds the edge, 18-0 Dell Rapids midway through the fourth quarter. West Central, they finally get some offense going. Check out Zerpel here.
Yeah, they had no passing yards until he completed one on this drive prior for a 31-yard completion, and then does a little bit with his feet. He's starting to look a little bit more like the Justin Zerpel we've seen all season.
Zerpel on the run, throwing against the grain, finds Aiden Bartman in the back of the end zone. 18-7. They would try an onside kick. It would not be successful. Dell Rapids would eventually get another touchdown late. Henry, another awesome catch, Panconi. Best down cam in the state, Joey Beltram, getting that shot there. Then the inside handoff, Panconi finishes it off. 24-7 Dell Rapids, your state champion. They finish an undefeated 12-0.
Yeah, just a classic battle, and Dell Rapids really controlled this game. They got benefited by those takeaways that they got in the first half. West Central had negative yards, total yards at halftime, and ended up with 23 carries for 34 yards total in this game. So the West Central offense could not run. Got a few passes late, but just not enough to make anything happen.
We heard from the victorious Couriers after the game, including quarterback Jack Henry.
It's just trusting our guys, and I know not to get too high, not too low, because the tide can change any moment. So just staying level, that's what I tell our guys. Like, don't get too cocky because it'll come back to get you. And I just say, like, just smooth sailing all the way through. Just stay level.
I think, like, as the game goes on, like, we're able to use and kind of bank on our offensive line, being able to begin to move people. We didn't probably move the ball as well the entire game as what we would have hoped, but ultimately, like, that's going to happen when you play good football teams. So we did enough. Our guys did enough up front to put us in a good situation to win at the end.
And that was head coach Jordan Huska of the victorious Couriers after the game. And what was interesting is we talked about West Central's struggles on offense, but of course the credit for that goes to that Courier defense.
Yeah, it was all Couriers defense, and Jordan Huska makes a good point. Offensively, they weren't exactly lighting it up either, but the defense did enough to get the championship, a big win for Del Rapids and the community.
So 5 South Dakota State championships in the books. Number 1 seeds in all of them. Just 2 and 3 are the 1 seeds. Del Rapids and Wall, the only number 1 seeds to win their respective championships. So we got 2 more for you on Saturday. 11 AA, Pierre and T area. This is the rematch that everyone has wanted to see. And you had a fun little idea, kind of taken from College Game Day, anonymous coaches.
Yes, I lured some anonymous coaches into the studio to give me all the information, all the dirty details on the teams that they've played throughout the year. And I'll tell you what, they opened up, and there's some really good stuff in here. So let's hear from some of the anonymous coaches in 11 AA.
If there's one team that can hang physically with Pierre, it's T. Only one team has Lincoln Keenholz. He's the best player I've seen in high school in a long time. T had the right formula the last time they played Pierre, but came up short on the road. I have a feeling it'll even out at the Dome. Keenholz put Pierre on his shoulders last year. I think he'll have to do it again for the Govs to win.
Less than a month ago, and T nearly got the upset done.
I think the coaches made a good point, and a couple other coaches have emailed me since and said, this Pierre Governors team, if they treat it like this is their first time in the finals, they'll be okay. If they're coming overconfident, though, this T-area team could eat up the clock and take it to them.
We all know about that Titan running attack with Van Tol and Thompson, Slykehouse, all those guys, but Lincoln Keenholz is just a dynamic in and of himself.
I can't wait to see this matchup because the last 2 times they played, it's come down to the last play in the balance, and we have no reason to believe that won't happen again at 1 o'clock tomorrow in the Dakota Dome.
Pierre looking for their 6th straight Class 11 AA title. Lincoln Keenholz's final high school game for the Pierre Governors. Again, it should be spectacular down at the Dakota Dome at 1 p.m. And then at 7 p.m., the 11 AAA matchup. Sioux Falls Jefferson, just its 2nd year of existence, been number 1 all season long. The undefeated Cavaliers against Harrisburg, the number 3 seed in this year's playoffs, last year's state champions. And we got some interesting thoughts from the coaches as well. It helps when you have some anonymity. Here's what they had to say.
Harrisburg's screen game could make a big difference. I expect a tight game. Jefferson is certainly favored, but Harrisburg is close. Leaving Wilde single covered always or very often is just asking to lose. You can't double cover Wilde because they're too good at the other receiver positions. Defensively, Jefferson is very aggressive and they can match up with Tryon man-to-man. They'll send pressure to try to snuff Harrisburg's run game with multiple blitz packages. Jefferson's speed at every position is what made them different. The offensive line is just good enough to give the QB time, the run game is just good enough to make play action effective, and when all else fails, the QB can scramble for huge chunks of yards.
Man, those silhouettes are just something else, aren't they?
They are animated coaches being anonymous.
But what's interesting is you heard someone saying you can't single cover Wilde, and someone said you can't double cover Wilde.
So you can't do anything to stop Wilde. That's basically it. The last time he played Jefferson, he went for 170-plus yards receiving. Of course, the last time they played was the opening game, and it seems like an eternity ago. But when Nelson Wright gets going, this team is just different. And Jefferson has been the most dominating team since 11 AAA formed in 2013, and they intend to go do that again on Saturday night.
Jefferson has won every game this season by at least 17 points. They're averaging more than 40 points per game. As you said, this last game, it was the season opener in August, back in August 27th. 43-13 was the final, Jefferson over Harrisburg. But again, Gavin Ross got hurt in that game. And for Jefferson, though, you mentioned it, Nelson Wright, he has battled injuries this season. He's back healthy. Griffin Wilde missed a couple games with a knee injury toward the end of the season. He is back healthy. Harrisburg has to find a way to at least slow down Jefferson's weapons.
They have to slow down the weapons, and their one path to victory is what they did last week with Max Carlson. He was the true X factor in that game, and if Gavin Ross can eat up enough time. Max Carlson can make some plays. They've been there before. This is the third year in a row Harrisburg's been there. Jefferson was a sub 500 last year.
Yep.
So maybe there's a little path, little hope for Harrisburg.
You mentioned Gavin Ross, you mentioned Max Carlson. Don't forget, Titan Tron's been one of the best receivers this season. And Dylan Elrod, kind of under the radar a little bit, but he has gained more confidence at quarterback for Harrisburg. It's going to be very interesting because I think Jefferson kind of has this feeling, this team of destiny feeling, like they have to finish this thing off and have this dominant season, but Harrisburg is standing in their way.
I'll be down there and give you some highlights next week on it.
Thanks to everyone on our entire production crew. For Jody and Jandy, I'm Brownie. Thanks for watching Varsity Sports Live.